crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
BixWeir.com. I want to talk about Evergrande and a little bit about Tether freezing some assets. But the Evergrande thing is just the most amazing story. If you are China and you're a globalized country, you're making products for the entire world, you're sourcing money from around the world in bonds denominated in US dollars and all kinds of things, and all of a sudden you turn it off. Click. What happens? That's the most interesting thing that all these financial newspapers aren't talking about. What happens if China decides that Evergrande is just going to pay their domestic bondholders and not pay any foreign bondholders? What laws within China? It's kind of like when I said the U.S. is going to destroy the monetary system and go back to bring all our troops home, stick them on the borders, and take care of ourselves. That's why we've been buying everybody's oil, buying everybody's everything, is because we knew the unbacked fiat monetary system would end, and we could take care of ourselves. There's plenty of jobs out there, a lot of work to be done if China's not making your goods and nobody else is. Globalization is reversing. Two things. Number one, China just shut their borders because of COVID again. So they're not going to export anything. We're pretty much done with China exports. So if you think that shelves are empty now, just wait. A huge lesson to be learned for the United States. Don't rely on other countries to take care of manufacturing things for your people. Yeah, we could have US dollars, but what does that do if there's nothing to buy with them, right? All right, front page of the Wall Street Journal today. China Evergrande averts first onshore public default. Troubled developers' domestic bondholders agreed to a 6-month reprieve. So there was a domestic bond that was due, and they worked out a deal. Now remember, Evergrande has already defaulted on one set of bonds back in, after the grace period was early December. They didn't make their payment in late January or late December, so late January is going to be the next default on foreign bonds, and it's a big one. So we could have two parallel universes, and nobody seems to be talking about that. The rating agencies, where the hell are they? It reminds me of the 2007-2008 housing crisis, where the rating agencies were in the pockets of all the banksters, playing the derivative game. We're in the same boat. The rating agencies aren't declaring the entity Evergrande in default. Yeah, they'll have to probably after the January, I think it's the 28th is when it's due, or maybe before that. Anyway, China Evergrande Group secured investor backing to delay making payments on $708 million offshore bond denominated in Chinese yuan, avoiding what could have been its first public default in the country's domestic bond market. They are cross-collateralized. Not collateralized, but they're cross-defaulted on all contracts. If they default on one, they should default on all of them, according to the laws of Western finance. The move highlights how big Chinese borrowers, such as Evergrande, can effectively operate in two distinct financial worlds, with creditors onshore sometimes taking a different approach from their international peers, and with markets in China somewhat shielded from defaults offshore. Somewhat. China makes everything for everybody. All they have to do is stop exporting and take care of their own people. I've been saying it forever. Evergrande is the world's most indebted developer with over $300 billion in liabilities spanning onshore and offshore bonds, loans from banks and shadow banking lenders, payments from homebuyers for unfurnished houses, and sums due to suppliers. The company is judged to be in default by international ratings companies after failing to make some payments on dollar bonds. But those were selective defaults declared by the rating agencies, not the entire company. Onshore, however, Evergrande has somewhat stronger credit ratings on paper, even though it is in debt restructure mode. Well, it isn't in bankruptcy, I'll tell you that. It hasn't defaulted on any of its 56 billion yuan, roughly 8.8 billion of outstanding publicly traded bonds and asset-backed securities, when data shows. So for the domestic side, there's only 8.8 billion out of 300 billion. The 300 billion is what's getting defaulted on. This money that is being allocated to these bond payments in the Western world will be legal. They should be put into bankruptcy, and then the proceeds or the liquidation of Evergrande should happen such that every bond has different priorities, and most of them will just get a fraction of the amount of money that the bond is worth. But everybody's afraid to do that. The rating agency is afraid to do that. They know the consequences, which should mean write-downs over every financial entity, and the derivative market will go sideways. Evergrande's main onshore subsidiary, Hegda Real Estate Group, said late Thursday Shanghai time that holders of 4.5 billion yuan note had voted to defer payments by 6 months to July 8th, following a series of meetings. So they didn't pay it, they just deferred payments, kick the can. Creditors also pushed back a redemption option that could have forced Hegna to repurchase some of the bonds. These guys are in so much trouble. Many onshore bonds issued by developers are held by financial institutions like city-level commercial banks and trust companies, which may have also extended loans to the borrower. I told you it's so much more than $300 billion. These creditors can be open to compromising over bond repayments if it helps avoid default. Again, the rating agencies need to, I think they will at the end of January, declare a complete default of Evergrande. Bankruptcy and restructuring cases can take years to work through the Chinese legal system and don't always lead to good outcomes for creditors, which can also make it more appealing to strike a deal with a borrower. Bonds and loans in China typically don't include cross-default clauses that are triggered by offshore events. For many, your $8.8 billion of bonds on onshore, yeah, you can make good on those. But what about the other $290 billion? Those are all cross-defaulted. For many developers, this is a quote, for many developers, defaulting on their onshore bonds may have far greater impact on the company than defaulting on offshore. Yeah, because the Chinese government, the CCP, will come take you out. While global investors tend to follow market principles, onshore creditors usually have more financial ties to borrowers. The bondholder structure of some developers onshore and offshore is very different, which leads to very different bondholder behaviors, he said. Debt bankers in mainland China say that the bond underwriters would usually sound out big investors ahead of a proposed maturity extension and would work with them to reach a solution. Some other Chinese developers have also defaulted offshore but managed to avoid doing so onshore. Credit ratings in China are typically much higher than international equivalents. China's Shengqing International Credit Rating Co. Yeah, I wonder who controls that, gave Evergrande the highest AAA credit rating when just extended bond deal was issued, now gives the company and its bonds a single B rating. Oh my God, are you kidding me? And then look at this. Evergrande takes on Tesla, rolling out its first electric vehicle as the embattled Chinese real estate developer seeks to make electric vehicles its core business. Oh my God. So they destroy foreign bondholders to the tune of $290 billion. And now they're using money to roll out a very capital-intensive business, electric vehicles. Here's what's going on. China's closing its doors to the world. Globalization's over. It's just a matter of when are the credit rating agencies going to understand that. Now, who owns the $290 billion in bonds and who owns the trillions of dollars of derivatives attached to Evergrande and such and all their guarantees? Nobody knows. I heard BlackRock, our favorite silver rigger that I was talking about this morning, owns a big chunk of that. And Tether, I hear, owns a big chunk of that. But what did Tether just do? Tether freezes $160 million of USDT stablecoin on Ethereum blockchain. Basically, Tether is now working with the U.S. government to take down the bad guys, to freeze assets. If you have your assets in Tether for any length of time, they can freeze them. Freeze them. As in, You can't do anything with it. This is how why Tether hasn't gone down yet. They're using them to take down the bad guys. The money launderers they're easy to find. There's been 560 Tether accounts frozen over the past year or so. No, Tether is not safe. It is 100% centralized. And they don't have the backing. But besides that, it's centralized. And you got to wonder how much of the Evergrande debt they have, because Evergrande was high yield debt, meaning that Tether changed from we're just holding U.S. dollars to we're holding dollars and other assets. And some of those people believe were Evergrande assets because they were the highest yielding you can get out there for, the government will never let Evergrande fail. Well, they'll let them fail on foreign bonds, absolutely, which is most likely what Tether held. So lots going on. Rio de Janeiro just announced that they will allow people to pay their taxes in Bitcoin. Anybody who thinks cryptos are going away is just smoking something really odd, especially all you gold and silver bugs who say, oh, no, cryptos are going to die. Good luck with that. That's all I have to say. Good luck with that. Silver is still fighting for the 50 and 100-day moving average. Bank of America is sweating up a storm. One of the largest banks in the world is knee-deep in silver derivatives, silver short position over 800 million ounces. Good luck with that, B of A. And also, I have just posted, for all you private road members, the latest Jenny Moonstone reading, a monetary reset to reveal shocking but true silver-gold ratio. Check that one out. It'll blow your mind. This is Bix Weir, roadroo.com. I'll talk to you later.